Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video giving my thoughts. We'll do a Q&A afterwards, but we'll start off with whether or not we think the Walking Dead television series may skip The Whisperers. And spoiler warning, if you guys are not cut up for The Walking Dead, which is up to the mid-season finale for The Walking Dead Season 8. So going into the second half, which is, we're inching closer to it now. You know, we're past all the fun stuff with Christmas, holidays, New Year's, and all that. So we're into 2018. We're getting closer. We got about a month, and I want to say like a month and a half or something, or, you know, maybe a little bit more than that. But it's kind of coming, it's got a late start coming back. So, yeah, so we're getting there. We're getting closer anyway. So this question came in from a few different people, namely the Awesomeist, and I kind of like his name, who says, Q&A Trev, do you think the Walking Dead TV series will skip the Whisperers altogether or perhaps destroy them quickly like they did the Termites in order to move the show forward and get more or less caught up to the comics? If Chandler Riggs had 3 more years on his contract, that means the show probably has about 3 more seasons planned before they end it. I don't see how they can spend a whole season on the Whisperers and then get to a point where the show can end and the comics can continue, which seems to be the plan. Well, you know, let's not, you know, we can kind of say that, but, you know, we're not sure about that. You know, what Chandler Riggs said, you know, supposedly said in a private message, you know, we really got to be careful at using that. It's like with the 3-year thing, I've done some videos on that, and that's not confirmed. We don't know if that's going to be the case. AMC has been saying all along that they've been wanting the show to go on a very long time, and, you know, a lot of us have reason to believe that, yeah, they probably still want to do that. So let's not 100%, you know, take that as canon, that there actually are only 3 seasons left. There could be far more than that. So we'll see what they actually decide to do and how it works. You can check out those videos if you want to hear my thoughts on the possible 3 seasons remaining. It's probably going to be more than that. We'll see how it goes. But whether or not they're going to skip the Whisperer story arc, and I think this one, it's hosted by Forbes. Paul Tassi submitted it or wrote it, so he's the contributor for it, and it says The Walking Dead may very well skip the comics Whisperers arc entirely. And then he goes into, so spoilers follow, so he's referring to the earthquake that was Carl's death, which now has me calling into question whether or not The Walking Dead might be scrapping the entire next big bad conflict with Alpha, Beta, Lydia, and the Whisperers. So his main reason to start here, his main kind of reason for the prediction, or his thoughts on whether or not they will or not maybe skip the Whisperers or cut it out entirely. He's got Carl's death as one of the top reasons. And it is very true when you look at the Whisperer story arc from the comics. Carl is a huge factor in that. He's a linchpin for that story arc, really. And to kill him off in the TV series version is really crazy because he's like your forefront character for the Whisperer story. And with him not being there, like in the comic book version, this isn't really spoilers because, well, you know, we're never going to see this adapted in the TV series for Carl because Carl's dead. But they could do it for Henry or somebody else and do something like this. But basically, Carl gets into a relationship with one of the Whisperers. Name is Lydia, who's basically close to his own age. She's pretty much harmless, you know, she's a young girl, that kind of thing. They get into it. Sophia's kind of jealous. Sophia's still alive in the comics as well, too, which is really cool. It's a really good drama, you know, that we've been seeing recently for The Walking Dead with regards to those 3. And, you know, Lydia's mom is Alpha, and so she's the leader of the Whisperers, and she's a pretty hardcore villain. The Whisperers are, you know, a really savage, just, you know, survivalist, nomadic group that, you know, they have a really cool angle, which is to basically wear the zombie skins, blend in right in with the dead, camouflage themselves so that they can kind of go out there and do whatever they want to do, whether it be take over another community, ravage the place, or, you know, just to find food or just to survive. They can do that. So it's a really interesting group. You know, I love them as villains. I think that their whole gimmick, their whole idea is really wicked cool. I would love to see Greg Nicotero in the television series version just have his way with that. Just, you know, give that to him and just be like, come up with whatever you want to come up with for some wicked cool scenes, some wicked shots. I'm sure he could come up with some crazy stuff for the Whisperers that would just look like brutal. But that's another question as well too, is will they want to do it because the Whisperers are so brutal? If you're going to do them properly, you have to have the blood, you have to have the gore, you have to have the guts and the skins and all that good stuff. We've seen a little bit of that in Fear recently with all the heads in the shopping carts and stuff like that from Nicholas. So yeah, we'll see. And of course there's always the theory of whether or not the Fear group could end up being the Whisperers. So we'll see how this all works out and how this all goes down. But his theory here is basically because of Carl's death, he's thinking that maybe they'll just cut that whole storyline. Maybe they'll just say, forget it, cut that out. Even though it would probably be a couple years of the series. It'd be like season 9, probably season 10. It may go into season 11 even, because the Whisperers are kind of around for a while, even after the Whisperer War and the other stuff. I would say if you're going to say they're going to cut, that's a few seasons of the show, I think. At least 2, maybe even go into a 3rd where they're around. It's like kind of like the, it's kind of like Governor or, let's say, the Saviors, really. The Saviors, Negan, and the others, too. The Whisperers are, maybe... can I say they're equivalent to that? But I don't know. They're close to it. They're a big group, so it's what it is. Hey, comic split. If AMC and Scott Gimple are willing to kill Carl, that implies a major break from the comics where they might want to go their own way for a while, if not permanently. It seems possible that they may attempt to head back to the glory days of the show, back when it was inventing new storylines that actually worked very well. From Terminus to the Wolves, we now know that the comic-based flash-forwards with an injured older Rick and alive Carl are now BS, so they must be a dream sequence of some kind is what he's saying here. So if that reality is fake, it seems likely the show is going to go in a different direction from the comics going forward, and that can mean skipping the Whisperers. So the helicopter, and that's one right there too, because the helicopter, we've done some videos on, we've talked about that a bit. It doesn't quite fit with anything. Like, it seems like maybe the junkyard had it, but they've had a couple, because they had a pad, a helicarrier or a helicopter pad, landing pad, that kind of thing in the junkyard. But I mean, really, they've had a couple occasions now that they could have probably used that to their advantage, and we've never seen them do it. When they just recently were helping Rick before in season 7, we've never really seen them. We haven't seen them use it, so, or it's really tricky. You could say the helicopter's not even theirs at all. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But there was a brief tease in Season 8A with the helicopter, but the Whisperers certainly don't fly helicopters. But it seems likely that the comics' current bad guys, the militarized Commonwealth, do. This could be an indication we are leaping straight into that storyline and instantly catching up with the comics in Season 9. So that's an interesting theory. A lot of people have thought, like when they see this helicopter, that sounds more like the Commonwealth or a group like that would be using that versus something like the Whisperers. Certainly that's not their MO at all to use helicopters. You can pretty much say right away, if they're going to do the same kind of interpretation of the Whisperers from the comics in the TV series, the Whisperers are closer to the Wolves than they would be to any group that would be using helicopters. I mean, Commonwealth or anybody else. So that's very true. We did see that helicopter. It's got to mean something. It doesn't seem to fit 100% with the Junkyard group from what I'm thinking. And it's going to be tricky to see, whose that was. It could be a new group that they kind of put into the TV series. Or it could be, like you said here, maybe they will skip it. It could be Commonwealth, something like that. So Rick's departure. Skipping the Whisperers may also allow the show to move toward a place where Andrew Lincoln might be able to leave the show. So, which he's been talking about for quite a bit lately. If the Whisperers stayed, that's probably another 1.5 to 2 years of storylines where Rick has to be present. But it's not possible that but it's possible that the comic will end up killing off Rick in the Commonwealth story arc, which we don't know yet. We're going to have to see. You have no idea. Rick is still alive in the comics right now, so it's what it is. Then he gets into this idea of a Negan-led Walking Dead, which I'm like, I've seen this as well, too, in articles, and I was like, what? No, I don't think so. Not if you look at the ratings, I don't think that they would do that. But, I mean, who knows, man? Crazier things have happened. They've killed Carl, so, if they could do that, they could kill anything. And then his last reason here is that the Whisperers are lame. He says, for all the hate Scott Gimple is getting lately, if he wanted to skip the Whisperer storyline, I honestly wouldn't blame him. I think it's probably the weakest arc of the comics to date, and the worst group of bad guys. Worse than Woodbury, worse than the Saviors. It's just not a very good storyline. And if AMC and its team think that they can cook up something better, I'm all for that. Obviously, their decision-making as of late has not been that great, in brackets, killing Carl. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what, and he's kind of theorizing here that maybe Carl's death is a jumping off point for the TV series to split a lot from the comics with regards to how things are going to go in the future. So we'll see, man. The fact that they've killed Carl off, you can never really say for sure now. If they're willing to do that, then, maybe Paul's right, and if he, or any of you guys who think that they will skip the Whispers, if you are, hats off to you guys for predicting that or kind of thinking that they might do that. Personally, for me, I would not want to see them skip the Whisperer story arc at all. There's so many cool things in there that we could see adapted to the TV series that could be wicked cool. Even though the Whisper War was not maybe as good as All Out War for me, it still had some really cool stuff in it. It still had some really cool fights and some really cool things happening that I would really like to see in the TV series just adapted. And we'll have to see, man. There have been some slight Easter eggs, the PPP card, that kind of thing. Heath possibly being with the Whisperers. So I personally don't think that they're going to skip the Whisperers story arc. I really don't. If they did that, I don't know if it gains them anything. Personally, I hope that they bring the Whisperers in. I hope they bring the brutality with them. They don't cut out anything. They don't leave anything out. They go for it, and I hope it brings the horror back in the show. I hope it makes the show feel more like a survival horror again and puts it back into that kind of Terminus season 5 kind of territory that was very scary to see because of what the termites or what the hunters do. The Whisperers are very similar to that group, in what they do. So they're very brutal, they're very bloodthirsty, and, I can't wait to see them in the TV series. Even without Carl, I still can't wait to see them. And I'm open to, them using someone else for Carl's, parts in the comic here, but we're going to have to see how it all goes down. It's really nuts, and I personally really hope that they don't do that. I really hope they do not cut out or skip the Whisperers. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Write your comments below on whether or not you want to see the Whisperers story arc in the TV series, or if you'd be okay with them skipping it, moving on to something else, and then, maybe wrapping up in a couple years or something like that. Next question comes in from Shelby, Sweatt, who says, Trev, this is a little off topic, but what do you think was the best confrontation in The Walking Dead? In my opinion, it's still the one with Rick versus Shane, the Better Angels episode. It still gets me because how best friends changed since the zombie apocalypse. So what is yours? So my favorite all-time confrontation between a couple of characters in The Walking Dead. That's a very good question. The Shane Rick one is awesome. I wouldn't have put together like a, John Berthal Shane figure for the backdrop if I didn't really like Shane. Shane's one of my all-time favorites for sure. And that was amazing, man. 18 Miles Out. I think it was written by Scott Gimple too, right? So for all the haters of Gimple. I got to give credit where credit's due. Both actors, they did an incredible job with the fight sequence and everything. It was just amazing. And, it was awesome. That was a great confrontation, man, for sure. Aside from that, I really like the Governor, Rick, Too Far Gone confrontation. So when the Governor kind of pops up out of nowhere for Rick and the others, they hear the explosion from the tank and everything. They go out there and they see the Governor there, and he's got, Herschel and Michonne. I mean, that was intense. I love the Governor's theme. I loved how just evil he was and just how brutal he was and cutthroat. And he's just, man, he was awesome. David Morrissey is the Governor. You want to talk just a straight up simple villain. Governor was a great villain, I think, man. Villains are evil, right? So the Governor certainly was. So he was great, man. So to see him and Rick and kind of Liar and the dialogue between the two of them before the fighting starts was, I thought, awesome. Rick offering for everyone to live together. And the Governor just being like, couldn't, not after Andrea, it couldn't work. So that would probably be, for me, my all-time favorite kind of face-off, confrontation in The Walking Dead. I mean, there's been lots of others that were really cool as well, too. You could say that, Negan's first appearance is kind of a confrontation, between them. So the season 7 premiere was great, too. Some of the ones with Rick and Gareth, for example, the Terminus, was awesome, too. I mean, there's lots of really cool ones throughout the series, but definitely Shane and Rick would be one of the best ones. And for me, the all-time best would probably be the Governor and Rick Too Far Gone for a single standalone confrontation that is my favorite. That stands out to me as like the most memorable. That was exciting, man. That was incredible. Next one comes in from Kate God H, who says, has Robert Kirkman still said anything? His silence is bad, or maybe he stopped caring. Anyway, the series should end season 10. So that was in the video where I did on when The Walking Dead should end. So this is kind of after the Carl death he's referring to here. So Robert Kirkman, so far as I know, of course, creator for Walking Dead comic book series, and also co-creator for TV series. I have not heard him say anything yet in terms of like published articles or website interviews, comicbook.com, Forbes, anybody else, Entertainment Weekly, anything. I haven't seen anything from him. So there might be something out there, and I just maybe have not seen it, of him weighing in on the Carl death, maybe something at a con, like a Walker Stalker con or something. I'll be looking forward to this year to hear kind of some more details behind the decision to kill Carl off, and just why they decided to do that. But so far, I have not heard anything. Is that a bad sign for the show? I don't know. I mean, he's really busy. Obviously, he has a lot of things he's working on. He's got the Walking Dead comics he does every month consistently, which is always awesome. Did a review for one, yesterday. He's got the Invincible movie is getting started with production. He's wrapping up Invincible 2. Lately, he's been kind of, that series has kind of been going down to the end. And he's got other series he's developing, Secret History of Comics and things like that. So maybe he's just busy working on other stuff and he is not interested in doing interviews right now. But yeah, it's a strange one that he has not said anything, because almost all the way throughout the series, he pretty much always gave his thoughts on just about every character death. So it kind of brings into question whether or not he was supportive of the decision to kill Carl off, whether or not he liked it. He seemed to be, or at least based on articles, he did not seem to like the idea of killing Andrea off way earlier in season 3. So I heard that there was some backlash or arguments about that afterwards between him and the other showrunner, Glenn Mazzara. But all this is hearsay. It's like through articles and stuff, so it's hard for us to really say anything concretely, about what's going on with that. But of course, as you guys know, there's like lawsuits and things like this. So because he's suing them over the series and that kind of thing, does he still care as much about the series? Is he still, how does he feel about the series? And, it's definitely interesting. So I'm looking forward to, in the future, once I see anything, I'll let you guys know in the videos if he does an interview at Comic-Con or anything and kind of gives us his thoughts or his take on why it was a good idea to kill Carl off, or why they decided to do it, or if he was involved or anything. And, but so far I have not heard anything, man. I have not heard anything. And the last one will be from Brian Ashba, who says, Trev, sometimes I think Z Nation is better than The Walking Dead. What do you think of the show, and would you ever do videos on them again? Thanks for all the hard work. Love your channel. So I've done lots of videos for Z Nation over the years. Even the producer for Z Nation, I think, was following me on Twitter at one point and that kind of thing. So, I have done a lot for Z Nation. I promoted it for years, did videos on it, reviewed the trailers, told people to check it out, that kind of thing. This year I kind of fell off with it. So I have heard that it's confirmed for another season. So it's something that I should probably look into and maybe, give my thoughts on it. Do I think that like any part of Z Nation is better than The Walking Dead? Well, it's entertaining, There are definitely parts of Z Nation that are more fun or that are more entertaining than The Walking Dead. But clearly, it's not done with the same kind of budget. It's not done with the same kind of, effort, from the network. And I'm sure they put a lot of effort into Z Nation. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just, obviously, Walking Dead is a bigger scale. It's kind of, it started first, and Z Nation, it didn't copy it, but they created kind of a zombie show, because it seems like, to me, it was hot at the time with Walking Dead and stuff. So, no, I don't really think that I never really think Z Nation is better than Walking Dead overall. It's just kind of a silly, fun show. In terms of like quality and that kind of thing, no, I wouldn't say that, I don't think you can say that, with a straight face. But it's more, sometimes it can be more entertaining and it can be more fun. So, because it's that kind of show, it's a silly zombie tornado, like some of the stuff they've done is pretty funny. So, that'll be it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about all these questions here. Let me know what you think about the Whispers. And if you like this video, please thumb it up below. You can also share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it, and you can do it. You can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.